If you take a hammer and hit a diamond, it doesn't bend, it shatters. If you heat it up enough, it doesn't melt, it vanishes into carbon dioxide. We are told this is the most precious object on Earth. We are told it is rare. We are told it is forever. But biologically, chemically, and economically, that is a lie. The truth is, diamonds are actually incredibly common. In fact, if we released the current global stockpile tomorrow, the market price would crash to near zero. So how did a shiny, common rock become the universal symbol of love? It wasn't romance. It was the most successful psychological operation in history. This is the story of how one company hacked the human brain to save itself from bankruptcy. To understand the con, you have to go back to 1870, South Africa. Before this moment, diamonds were rare. They were found in riverbeds in India and Brazil, a few pounds a year. That was it. But then, explorers in South Africa hit the mother lode. Literally, they found massive volcanic pipes filled with tons of diamonds. Suddenly, the market was flooded. In the laws of economics, when supply goes to infinity, price goes to zero. The investors panicked. They knew that if anyone could own a diamond, nobody would want a diamond. So, a man named Cecil Rhodes made a terrifying decision. He realized the only way to save the value of diamonds was to stop people from owning them. He bought the mines, all of them. He consolidated every major claim into a single entity, De Beers Consolidated Mines. By 1888, De Beers controlled the global supply. This wasn't a business. It was a faucet. If demand dropped, they turned the faucet off. If demand rose, they dripped a little out. They didn't just set the price, they played God with the supply. But in 1938, the faucet broke. The Great Depression hit. Then war loomed in Europe. Nobody was buying useless rocks. Prices collapsed. Harry Oppenheimer, the son of the founder, knew that controlling the supply wasn't enough anymore. They had to control the buyer. They hired N.W. Ayer, an advertising agency in New York. The goal? To convince Americans that they needed a diamond. The agency's internal memo is chilling. It said, "There is no use attempting to make the diamond a necessity. We must make it a luxury for the many." They infiltrated Hollywood. They paid movie studios to insert scenes where men proposed with diamonds. They gave stones to the British royal family to wear in public. But the masterstroke happened in 1947. A copywriter named Francis Garrity wrote 4 words that changed the economy forever. A diamond is forever. It sounds romantic. It's not. It was a financial instruction. De Beers was terrified of a secondary market. If you buy a diamond and then sell it 5 years later, you are competing with De Beers. They needed to make sure that once a diamond was sold, it never, ever came back. By linking the diamond to eternal love, they made it socially impossible to sell one. If you sell the ring, you are selling your marriage. You are failing. They turned the inventory into a family heirloom to keep it off the market. Then, they invented the price. You know the rule? 2 months' salary? That wasn't tradition. That was a marketing campaign starting in the 30s as 1 month, then inflated to 2 months in the 80s simply because they wanted more money. They literally told you how much of your paycheck you owed them, and we listened. The monopoly was perfect, until the Russians showed up. In the 1950s, the Soviet Union discovered massive diamond deposits in Siberia, the Mirny mine. This pit is so deep, it creates its own weather system. The airspace above it is restricted because the temperature difference can create air currents strong enough to destabilize small aircraft. But the real danger to De Beers wasn't the hole, it was what came out of it. Millions of small, lower-quality diamonds. The Soviets threatened to dump these small rocks onto the world market. It would have exposed the scarcity myth instantly. So De Beers did the only thing they could do. They didn't fight Russia, they bought Russia. De Beers signed a secret deal to buy everything the Soviets dug up. They took millions of tiny diamonds that nobody wanted. But now they had a warehouse full of tiny rocks. How do you sell those? You invent the eternity ring. Suddenly, the ads changed. For the woman who has been faithful, a band of many small diamonds. They marketed it to older married couples specifically to clear the Soviet inventory. They didn't create products to fit the customer. They created customers to fit their inventory. For 100 years, the cartel held the line. But today, the dam is breaking. Lab-grown diamonds are chemically identical to mine diamonds. An expert jeweler with a loupe cannot tell the difference. A machine often can't tell the difference. Because there is no difference, except the price. De Beers is fighting back, trying to label lab diamonds as cheap, but the physics don't lie. The irony is, we are finally returning to the reality of 1870. The stone is common. The supply is infinite. Diamonds are beautiful. They refract light. They are the hardest substance nature creates, but they are not an investment, they are not rare, and they are not forever. The only thing that was forever was the marketing. So the next time you see that price tag, ask yourself, are you paying for the rock or are you paying for the story? This scam was brilliant, but it's not the only one. There is a man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, and unlike De Beers, he didn't use ads. He used a fake badge and a fountain pen. If you want to hear that true story, hit subscribe. You do not want to miss what's coming next.